Hey everyone, welcome back. In the last lesson, we created our first real cloud function that listens to our users collection and creates a Stripe customer when a new user is added and then updates that Firestore document. So now we're ready to kind of move forward in our app with the checkout process. And the first thing that we're going to do is create the UI for our checkout page, our shopping cart here, okay? So when we select a item to add to the cart, so I'll add the elephant and the owl, and we come to our shopping cart, we have a table view here that has a kind of just a smaller version of our main product cell here. And then we have a delete button. And then down here we have payment method with a button, shipping with a button here. And these bring us to the Stripe view controllers that we're going to be using. And then we have the subtotal, processing fee, shipping and handling, and the total. And then finally a button to place the order, okay? So in this lesson, all we're going to be doing is working on the UI. So let's get started. I'm going to create a new controller. A new view controller, so I'm going to say new file, CocoaTouch class, next. This is going to be subclass of a UI view controller, and we're going to call this checkout VC and say next and create. All right, and then I'm going to delete these comments here. And then let's go into our storyboard. And then we're going to need to add in a new view controller. So I'm going to click here on our object library and search for view controller. Here we go. And I'm going to put that right here above these two right here. There we go. And then the next thing we can do is set this view controller's class to our checkout VC. And then to get to the checkout VC, all we need to do is hook up one of our buttons here. So we have our shopping cart button. I'm going to control and drag and say show. And then we're also going to add the shopping cart button to our products view controller so we can get to the shopping cart from either of our view controllers. So I'm going to open up a bar button item, drag that right into here. And then we are going to get rid of the title and set the image to bar button cart. There it is. And then I'm going to do the same thing, control and drag and say show. All right, so now we can get to the checkout view controller from either of our main view controllers. And now let's go ahead and get started on our checkout cart UI. So we're going to start from the bottom up. So I'm going to place this down here at the bottom. Let's go ahead and constrain it. We're going to say 20 from the bottom, left and right. Add those 3 constraints. Oh, also set the height to 40. And then we can double click and change the title to place order. Change the text color to white and the background color to our dark blue. There we go, very good. Then we're going to change our class to a rounded button. And that's looking good. Next up, we're going to need an activity indicator. So I'm going to grab that right here and just put it right down here. And we are going to set the style to large white and the color to our dark blue. And then we're going to set hides when stopped. And let's go ahead and constrain it. I'm going to center it horizontally in the container and set it maybe 6 from the top of our place order button. Next up, let's open up our simulator again. We're going to work on this view right here. This is going to be a stack view with a bunch of labels and some buttons and some views. So let's go ahead and drag some of that in here. I'm going to open up and bring in some labels. Holding Option is going to keep our object library open. So I'm going to go ahead and drag in a few of these. So we got payment method, subtotal, processing, and total. All right, that looks good. Then we have a few more that we're gonna need over here. So just kind of dragging in everything we're gonna need in this stack view here. So we got 2 buttons right there. All right, that looks good. All right, so that's quite a bit. So let's go ahead and start setting up the titles for these labels. This is gonna be payment method. This is gonna be shipping. This is gonna be subtotal. This is gonna be the processing fee. This is gonna be shipping and handling. And this one's going to be total. And then for these are gonna be dollar amounts. So I'm gonna say dollar and dash dash to start. Same for these other ones, dollar dash dash, dollar dash dash, and dollar dash dash. And then this top button, this is gonna be so that we can change our payment method. So I'm gonna say select method, and same for this one here. All right, so now let's go ahead and organize these. So each of these rows is going to be its own horizontal stack view. So I'm going to select both of these and say embed in stack view. Then I'm going to grab these 2 and embed in a stack view. These 2 in a stack view. These 2 in a stack view. These 2 in a stack view. And then these 2 in a stack view. And then I'm going to grab all of those stack views and embed it in a stack view. Very good. And then in our stack views attributes inspector, we are going to change the alignment to fill, the distribution to equal spacing, and we're going to set the spacing to 8. All right, so that's starting to look better. Let's go ahead and set its constraints. We're gonna go 20 from the left, 20 from the right, and then we'll go 20 from the bottom, and we're going to set it to the bottom of the place order, okay, right there, and say 20 and add those 3 constraints. Very good. Okay, I think we can go a little bit more than 20 on the bottom. So I'm gonna come back here to our size inspector, bottom space. Let's try 26, see how that looks. Maybe a little bit more, 30. Okay, I think that looks good. All right, now in our finished version, we had some divider lines, okay? So how we can do that is just by adding a UI view into our stack view. Just add it right there at the top. Then we set a height of 1, add that constraint, and then set a background color. We'll do a dark gray color. See how that looks? All right, that looks good. And then what we can do, hold Option and drag right to here, just to get a copy. And if that didn't work out for you, then what you can do is just copy and paste, and then drag it where you need it. I'm going to copy and paste again and move that right there. There we go. All right, that's looking much better. Now you see here we have some errors here. We got a red error here, and it's saying we need to set horizontal hugging priority. Or what we can do is selecting each of our horizontal stack views, we can set the alignment to be fill and the distribution to be equal spacing. There we go. And do that for each of your horizontal stack views. I'm just going to select all of the remaining 4 or 5 and set the alignment to fill and the distribution to equal spacing. And that should get rid of our red arrows, and it does. So we're good on our constraints. And this is starting to look pretty good. The last thing that we need here is our table view to display our current orders. So I'm going to open up here and say table view, and just drag you right in here. and set constraints of 20, 20, 20, and 20 on all four sides, and say add those four constraints. And with that, we can go ahead and add our IB outlets. So I'm going to hold Option and click on Checkout VC. Close my left and right hand panels, zoom out a little bit. I'm going to put my header for outlets here. I'm going to start with our table view, and here we go. Say table view. Then we have our payment method button. I'm going to control and drag and say payment method button. Then we have our shipping. I'm going to say shipping method button. And then we have our subtotal. So I'm going to control and drag and say subtotal label. Then we have our processing fee here. Control and drag and say processing fee label and connect. Next we have our shipping and handling. I'm going to control and drag and say shipping cost label. Then we have our total. I'm going to control and drag and say total label. Then we have our activity indicator. I'm going to control and drag and say activity indicator. And then we have our place order button. I'm going to make an action and say place order clicked and connect. And then we are also going to need actions for our select method for the payment method and the shipping. So I'm going to control and drag and say payment method clicked, and then another one for the shipping method clicked and say connect. All right, that's looking pretty good. All right, next up, let's go ahead and work on the shopping cart cell. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and open our right and left hand panels, go back to our standard editor, and up here under Zibs, I'm going to go ahead and right click and say new file, CocoaTouch class. This is going to be a subclass of a UI table view cell, and we're going to call this cell cart item cell, and we are also creating the zib file, and say next, and say create. And then we're going to go ahead and grab our the cart item cell.swift file and just move that down here to the view folder. And coming over here to our cart item cell.zib file, let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's set the row height to 100. And this is going to be pretty similar actually to our product cell.zib. We have our rounded shadow view, and then we have our product image, and then a title and a button. So let's go ahead and work on that here. So I'm going to drop in a UI view right here, and this is going to be our container view. And I'm going to go ahead and constrain that from all four sides to 8 from the top, left, right, and bottom, and say add those four constraints. And its custom class is going to be rounded shadow view. And then we're going to need our image. So I'm going to drag in an image here and just kind of shrink that down a little bit. And let's go ahead and set its constraints. We're going to say 8 from the top, 8 from the left, 8 from the bottom, and then we're going to set an aspect ratio. So we'll add those four constraints. And then if we come back here to our size inspector and grab our ratio here, I'm going to edit it, and we're going to set the multiplier to 1, 2, 1, 1:1, and say enter. And that looks good. Very good, and I'm going to go ahead and add just a dummy image in here. Let's say Arial, and we are going to need to say aspect fill, and clip to bounds is already checked. That's good, and let's change its class to rounded image view. There we go. Next, we're going to need another label for the product title and price. So I'm going to say label and just drag that in right here. Let's go ahead and change the color to our dark blue. Oh, that's a dark gray. Let's find our dark blue. Here we go. And change the font to font custom. Family is Futura. The size is 17, which is fine. And the style, let's do medium. Done. All right, that looks good. And go ahead and put some dummy text here. Just say product title, $99.99. Okay, that looks good. And then we're going to need a button over here, which is our trash can. So I'm going to search for button and just drag that in right here. Delete the text and set the image to, let's see if we can find that. What did I call it? Red trash. Here we go. That looks good. And then we will just center that vertically in its container and set it maybe 12 from the right here. That looks good. Awesome. So we got all of our UI set up for our checkout cart. We got the UI here done, our table view in, and then our cart item cell all set up as well. While we're here, let's go ahead and hook up the outlets for our cart item cell. I'm going to hold Option and click on cart item cell.swift file. Close our left and right hand panels. Gonna go ahead and put a header here for our outlets. And we are going to need our product image. So I'm going to control and drag and say product image and say connect. Then we have our product title and price, product title, label, and then we have our remove item button, remove item button. And then we'll also need an action for that. So again, control and drag from our trash can, and under the set selected method, we control and drag and say remove item clicked and say connect. All right, so now we have everything set up that we're going to be needing while we jump into the code for the checkout cart view controller, which we'll start working on in the next one. I will see you there.